The Repeat Offender Parole Enforcement Squad is requesting the public's assistance in locating a federal offender wanted on a Canada-wide warrant. Kenneth Frude is a 51-year-old male, 5'11", 152 pounds, with brown eyes and graying hair. Frude is currently bound by a long-term supervision order resulting from a 2-year and 6-month sentence for break and enter, sexual assault, and sexual assault with a weapon. The offender is known to frequent Kingston, London, Iroquois Falls, Timmins, the GTA, and other areas in Ontario. Police in Kingston say there are fatalities after a small plane crashed in a wooded area within the city limits. The police force said in a tweet late last night that the aircraft has been located and officers are securing the scene until Transport Canada arrives to join the investigation. Constable Ash Gutthein says the aircraft went down around the supper hour and residents of the area were not at risk. Investigators have not released information on how many people were on board. Police also won't release the make of the aircraft or say whether it's a private or commercial plane. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland wrapped up a meeting yesterday in the American capital aimed at finding the bipartisan agreement needed to finalize a new North American trade deal, saying that they continue to make progress. The session involved U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Mexican Undersecretary for North America Jesus Sayad. Freeland said she will continue to be in close communications with her counterparts during the next few days, but suggested no talks were planned for today because of the American Thanksgiving. She declined to confirm whether she would be hosting Sayad in Ottawa, even though the Mexican official himself said he planned to be there tomorrow. Officials from the continent's 3 countries held talks earlier yesterday in Washington on the final obstacle to ratifying the new United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, a sign of the dwindling American legislative calendar. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer has been working the phones to line up the opposition front benches as he gets set to reveal the team that will face off against the Liberal government starting next week. First up today is an announcement of his leadership team, the MPs who will actually marshal the Conservatives in Parliament. Later, he is to announce his picks for the Conservative shadow cabinet, which will include keeping some longtime critics in their roles and promoting other up-and-comers. According to several people who have spoken with Scheer in recent days but were not given permission to disclose the content of the calls, say those same calls are also including frank conversations about the debate raging over his leadership. 2 people from Scheer's innermost circle, Hamish Marshall and Marc-André Leclerc, no longer have formal roles in guiding his political future. Marshall's contract as the Conservatives' national campaign manager has expired, and as for Leclerc, who had been Scheer's chief of staff, well, he was fired over the weekend. In addition to being his closest aides during the campaign, Marshall and Leclerc were instrumental in Scheer's razor-thin win over rival Maxime Bernier after 13 rounds of voting in the 2017 Tory leadership race. Bernier later quit and formed his own party. A former Ontario Liberal Environment Minister says Canada has waited too long for carbon taxes to be a real solution to the country's emission woes and must shift now its focus to massive government interventions to overhaul Canada's transportation systems and buildings. Glen Murray was the Minister of Environment in Ontario in 2017 when the province introduced its short-lived cap-and-trade carbon pricing system, which was killed off by the new Tory government just over a year later. Murray, who is now working as a clean tech entrepreneur, says carbon taxes will take too long to work, given how quickly the planet is warming. It suggested that quadrupling the price from the planned $50 a ton in 2022 to $210 in 2030 would be enough to meet that goal. A federal analysis suggested setting the carbon price at $50 per ton could achieve about 40% of the emissions cuts needed to meet that existing 2030 goal.